Right, good people, another week is upon us. Hope I'm coming through loud and clear. Welcome to another Brews at 10. On my left eye, I'm your host Lefty. Solidari-Tea, everybody. First Brews at 10 of the week. Lots to catch up on. Hope you're doing really well this evening. Chris, Morbius, Kit and Flow Snake. Awesome to see you in the chat already. So yeah, we do have quite a bit to go through this evening. Some breaking stuff from today. And a couple of things I'm going to catch up on since I was last with you on a live stream. Apologies I couldn't bring you a Sunday live stream last night. But it's great to be back. Great to see those Palestine flags, Lebanese trees, watermelons. Great stuff, people. Yeah, I'm not too bad myself. Geopolitical situation and pending climate collapse aside. Morbius, thanks for that gifted membership as well. Awesome stuff. Solidari-Tea for that. There's a cup. Oh, speaking of which, yeah, please do consider supporting the channel with a membership, either for yourself or a gifted membership for somebody else. Also, please hit the thumbs up button on the stream. Share it around your Twitter, your TikTok, whatever you're using. Please do try and spread the channel. If you want to jump in the chat as well, please hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed already. And I'll be giving a shout out as always to existing members in just a moment. Well, I really want to hear your opinions on the stories tonight. It's going to be another roller coaster of emotions. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll roll your eyes. You might even spontaneously combust when you hear some of the things we've got lined up tonight. Yeah, I'm just getting a few things lined up. But thanks again to Morbius for that gifted membership. Whilst I'm on the topic, these are all the current members. It's amazing to have all of you supporting the channel. It's also great to see our community growing and meet new people as well. And as well as Morbius, shout out as always to anybody else who's gifted memberships recently. And if you've renewed as well, if you've rejoined, thanks a lot for that also. So I get access to static emojis, some exclusive content, early viewings, that kind of thing. So yeah, please do hit the perks button and check out the benefits of joining the community on the channel with a membership. Something light-hearted to start off with, as I usually like to do, before we get into the nitty-gritty, the doom and gloom. No, there's plenty of humour blended in as well. While we're on the topic, for anyone who's not a regular viewer on Brews at 10 live streams, please do throw as many tea-based puns into the chat as you can. Words that end in TY being replaced with the word tea, as in the drink, being a particular favourite as well. Chris, thanks for that gifted membership also. Wonderful. So we've got another member in the community. Thanks again, Chris, for your ongoing support for the channel. Awesome to see you back as always. And Chris has got a few tea-based puns up his sleeve usually as well. AKA Octo. Thanks again. Floor Snake, you're asking what a static emoji is. So if you just hit the normal emoji button to the right of the chat box, the smiley face there, it'll say add emotes, however you want to pronounce it. And the first row that you should see will be exclusive for members only. If you remember, you get some of those. Can give you some examples if anybody else wants to throw some in as well. Please do feel free. So for example, I'm just going to randomly pick the Lindsay Hoyle one, Tony Blair, and there's a sort of semi-customised Free Palestine. So those three examples I've just posted in the chat there. The good thing is, good people, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, the more members we get, the more static emotes I get to create, so more varied selection. Doubloons stick to it. Yeah, and your hair goes all frizzy, rises up when you get too close to a static emote. And Hedy, good to see you in the chat as well. Very warm welcome back. Hope you're very well today. Just about to get started. Right, I've got the comedy clip lined up. It's Noreen Skinner's latest. And if you're not familiar with her impersonation of Angela Rayner, it's very good. I have to say, you know, to get that Manchester accent. Plus, it's a good take on everything that's been happening recently. So this is the latest from Noreen Skinner. Okay, enjoy if you've not seen this one before. Do check out Noreen Skinner's stuff. She's on YouTube, Noreen Skinner Comedy. And Trevor.
But I'm going to be honest with you, because I want to talk about Keir Starmer, because that man is having a right bad time, and I want you to lay off him, alright? Because the other day, he came into the meeting, and he weren't wearing any clothes. I said to him, what are you doing? And he said, well, I didn't get any clothes donations, so I'm not going to wear nothing. If that man don't get given any donations, he don't wear anything at all. He was stark naked. He looked like a naked mole rat. He's not well, alright? Now, let's just talk about PMQs, all right? Let's address the situation, because I know a lot of people have been saying, you know, he lied, so he should resign. But he didn't lie. He's just out of his depth. He don't know what he's doing. And he also referred, didn't he, to Rishi Sunak as the Prime Minister. Now, he's done that at least 5 or 6 times, but that's because he is suffering with PTSD. He thinks he's in a different time. You know, he thinks he's still stuck in the last 14 years. That's why I keep saying the last 14 years of Tory failure. He don't know who he is. The other day he came in with a lettuce, right, and he started smashing it against the floor, shouting out, Liz Truss, you crashed the economy. You need to get gone. You know, he even calls me mummy sometimes. Well, that's a different thing, but anyway. But the thing is, he don't know that he's Prime Minister. We don't know who he is, all right? Now, let me tell you, the only thing that's getting him through this tricky time, the only thing is Taylor Swift. Now, look, we can't be going buying him tickets for Taylor, can we? Because, you know, we're not allowed to. But the thing is, he's singing her all the time. You know, over summer, he was singing Cruel Summer, he was singing Bad Blood. And now I'm actually starting to think that he's living his life through her lyrics. You know, because he said to the Conservative Party the other day, look what you made me do. You know, and the only thing that calms him down is when we all get around him in a circle and we sing, shake it off, ah, 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 shake it off, ah, ah, and he starts to calm down. But we've noticed the only way to get through to him, the only time he's lucid is when he's singing a bit of Taylor Swift, all right? And that's when we start getting all the policies through and he signs them off. But we don't know what we're going to do. That man needs help, all right? So I want you to lay off him for a time, all right? Anyway, I got to be going. That was Transparency with Angie. See you next time. Bye. God, I'm good at that.
Noreen Skinner Comedy.
We're all busy.
Check her out.
Busy taking
Ignore the ad.
Busy.
All right. Let's get into some stories, what we've got. Well, I think we'll start with the heckler. So yeah, Lydia Thorpe. Upstage King Charles interrupting his state visit, as it were. With an anti-colonial protest, and she's quite famous for these sort of outspoken incidents. Should we say, let's take a look at that one sec. Just gotta get everything in order here. Where's my logo gone? I'll deal with that in a sec. We'll just remind ourselves of what happened first. I take it most of you will have seen this clip already. No harm in seeing it again. Let's get the background music. There we go.
Give us what you stole from us! Our bones, our skulls, our babies, our people! You destroyed our land! Give us a treaty! This is not your land! This is not your land! You are not my kids!
So she's shouting, "You're not my king, this is not your land. Look at what he's stolen from us." This kind of thing.
I wanted to send a clear message to the King of England that he's not the king of this country. He's not my king. He's not sovereign. We are sovereign. To be sovereign, you have to be of the land. He's not of this land. We have been demanding a treaty for decades and decades. There is a sophisticated genocide going on against my people. We have almost 24,000 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander children that have been taken from their families. We have over 600 deaths in custody with not one officer ever being held accountable or responsible. We have the rape and pillage of our water, of our land. We have mass incarceration and mass suicide rates in this country. How can he stand up there and say that he's the king of our country?
Yeah, Kit, you're right there. We don't want him either. For anyone who's not familiar, I'm of course a staunch Republican in the in the sense of whether we should have a monarchy or not in the American political sense. Just to be very clear on that part. And I've met Graham, who is the head of Republic in the UK, a couple of times. Really nice, spot on sound fella. And it kind of is the same over here. Yeah, I mean, it's just... It's staggering that in 2024 that we still have these kind of institutions, and obviously especially Aboriginal Australians are highly offended at his presence. Historically, what the British Empire has done to native Australians, as well as so many other countries across the world as well. Just going through the article though, you can see it says she's no stranger to controversy. It's not the first time she's voiced her views on the British monarchy. Prior to that, she had a history of Indigenous activism. She also worked as the chairperson for the NIDOC, that's National Aborigines and Islanders Day Observance Committee for the State of Victoria, an organisation that works to recognise and teach Australians about First Nations cultures and their histories. In 2022, when she was being sworn in, she called the late Queen a coloniser. So as she was being sworn in, similar to when our MPs been sworn into Parliament, there was an incident with Clive Lewis this time around as well, if you recall, also in the UK. But in Lydia Thorpe's case, she said, "I, Sovereign Lydia Thorpe, do solemnly and sincerely swear that I will be faithful and I bear true allegiance to the colonising Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II." But similar to Clive Lewis, she was asked to repeat the oath as printed and then had to do so. And in both cases, with Clive Lewis as well, it was highlighting how ridiculous it is in a modern society that even though you're supposed to represent the people, you are in fact made to swear an oath to the sovereign. Rather old-fashioned, if you ask me. So she's come under a bit of stick for this, as well as other incidents. I'm just going to get the background music back, sorry, bear with me. What happened there? But just to go back to the clip itself, you saw the one point of view. I've seen this incident from a few different points of view on social media. I don't have the actual clip lined up, but on one it pans around and you get the reaction, or well, lack of reaction as it were, from Charles and Camilla and whoever else was up there on the stage, and they pretty much just didn't move at all, except at one point I think Charles was sort of whispering something to someone who was near him, and then it was kind of like to break the awkwardness, you know, in case of emergency, break glass, and they hit the button, but then it brings in a violin concerto, because if all else is going wrong, you can keep everybody happy just by playing the music as they're being dragged out the door as though nothing's happened. As for the king himself, he probably won't respond to this. It just goes on to say that one of her biggest grievances is the fact that Australia is the only Commonwealth nation that has never signed a treaty with its Indigenous people. She's been pushing for that as a priority. For her, last year's referendum on a voice to Parliament, a body made up of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders providing advice to Parliament on Indigenous issues, was a distraction from what was important, a treaty. Australians resoundingly voted against the proposal, and she was one of a minority of First Nation people who also voted no. I think she's quite right in calling for Australia to be a republic. And yeah, going full circle back to what you were saying there, Kit, about us not wanting him either, support for a monarchy is in constant decline. It's, you know, it's only a matter of time. We've really got to modernise. So yeah, I say well done there. Could you imagine that here though? Could you imagine? Obviously, this is about appropriation of another country's land, but such a passionate outburst of protest in the presence from a domestic member of Parliament. I suppose the same people who would decry her actions will then go on to post about how they hate the fact that England has now got a German football manager, the England football team as well. You know, one of these ironies. Right, where should we go to next? trying to work out some sort of linear order. I'm going to try and tether link a few different stories together. So I'm gonna go on to Elon Musk next, who's now officially endorsing Donald Trump's campaign for presidential election. Of course, that's coming up in just a matter of weeks now. But it's increasingly cringeworthy and tragic. You may have heard about this $1 million a day giveaway that he's doing for voters in certain states. He's running this kind of lottery, and there have been some serious questions about the legitimacy, the legality of this kind of thing. So every day he's going to give away $1 million, apparently picking someone at random from a list of people who've signed a petition to protect the First and Second Amendment. For some reason, Trump wants Republicans to think that there's some sort of existential threat being made to the First and Second Amendment, which I'm not aware of, either from Kamala Harris or Jill Stein. I don't think either of them are calling for the removal of those two amendments. But if you really want to stir some fear up amongst your potential voters, then that could be one way to do it. But also throwing in this lottery, I guess you have to call it a lottery. But whether it should be allowed within an election campaign raises some pretty serious questions. But also this clip, there's a bit of a snippet here from where Musk joins Trump on stage during the campaign, and they're congratulating the winner of one of these $1 million checks as well. And it's pretty cringe. If any of you weren't familiar, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, if you've ever seen footage of Elon Musk trying to dance, for example, that's one of the things, slight spoiler alert, it never seems to come across well. I can remember some other footage of him walking up one of the production lines at one of the Tesla factories with staff lining either side and clapping in time, and he's trying to sort of walk down and dance at the same time and look cool, but it's just, oh God, it's like I don't know, a drunk relative showing themselves up at a do or something. Who knows, you know? I don't know what to compare it to, but take a look for yourself, people. Sorry, this as well, this gives classic demonstrations, examples of what you might call your stereotypical Trump voter as well. Here's the
You're most welcome.
winner. Lucky, $1 million. $1 million for being a moron. Well done. Clap, 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 clap. Clappity friggin' clap.
Yeah. So, congratulations.
What are the odds that check's going to bounce? Oh, sorry, all your stock just collapsed. The veil has been lifted. Turns out all of your wealth was just on paper, and it's because you're a stock market hype merchant and your company's massively overvalued. Sorry, you've busted. You've gone to zero.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
Is there anything you want to say?
you so much for, I mean, I truly believe everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Truly, you don't need to be doing it. I know a lot of us feel the same way.
Well, where do you start with that? Where do you start with that? She believes everything he's doing, everything that he says he's doing, because the list of these failed projects that he tries to make money off of, again, by overhyping them to try and raise the price on the stock market. The Hyperloop, for example, this futuristic underground vacuum tube system that would allow rapid intercity travel. Years overdue, years over budget, and at the end didn't resemble anything as it was described. You essentially just had reinvented the subway, but worse. There's one. This whole thing about colonising Mars. Don't get me started on that one. Don't get me started on that one. Okay? This guy's off his rocker. He's out of his tree. And I guess if this lady, this lucky millionaire now, God, can't believe it, $1 million. They give $1 million. Wow. If she believes all that, then you don't have to do much thinking to figure out why she's supporting Trump and Vance. Yikes. We're all doomed.
Your wealth and responsibility.
He's out of his tea. Yes, RC Pilot, welcome to the chat. Hope you're very well. He's off his rocker and out of his tea.
You are using to save speech, and we just all appreciate it. We really do. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just as a matter, all politics aside, just for one moment, if someone hands you a check for $1 million, and then thanks so much, like what you're doing, appreciate it. Yeah, cheers, dude. Pretty much. And yeah, fair enough. Some people are, might be a bit of stage fright. She's probably nervous or whatever. Not used to public speaking or whatnot. But just okay, I'm off now with my $1 million. Should probably actually go and try and cash that actual mock-up check as a real one. They're just for show, They're not the actual checks. As the caption came up there.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Democrats and legal experts claim that the offer is illegal and amounts to buying votes. Well, just a reminder, the way it's working is people who signed a petition are being randomly selected, and he's giving away $1 million a day to random people who sign that petition. Obviously all Trump supporters. I believe is that going to be every day between now and the election, which is a couple of weeks away. Advance check. Whoa, you're on form tonight, RC. Advance check. Again, asterisks on proviso that all of his stock doesn't collapse.
Fight.
This is where it starts to get silly. Yeah, look at this.
Fight. I think
We all remember what happened that January 6th a few years ago. That's a reference to the gesture that Trump made after the first of what is now, is it 3 apparent assassination attempts? And then instead of getting out of there, decided to do a photo op. Won't get into the ins and outs, make of that what you will, but this is now being used as like a clarion call, is it? The fight. And when you got literally a room full of people, and obviously I'm mostly referring to Musk in this, but you've got to say the chances of there being quite a few right-wingers in the crowd is also pretty likely. But when they start to chant in unison like that and say the word fight, which could be interpreted in many ways, shall we say. They're obviously political fights, political struggles, but perhaps to those who aren't exactly lining up to get into Mensa, they might interpret that as to actually use violence to fight in the physical sense. I wouldn't... It's not beyond the realms of imagination that if Trump doesn't win this next election, we could see a repeat of those awful events of January 6th, and with this kind of rhetoric being thrown around, it's not exactly difficult to see why, is it? But it gets worse.
Fight. I think with the Trump presidency, we're going to get secure borders, we're going to get safe cities, we're going to get sensible spending, we're going to get deregulation, so we have sensible regulation, and we can unlock the power of the giant that is America.
His name is Elon Musk.
They cheer all this on as though America hasn't been there before when you look at the history of economic decline in the United States of America and in the UK and in other rich countries. Deregulation is a massive factor in that. We saw that in the 80s, and then look what that caused. It creates these ripples. It's only a matter of time before the bottom comes out of the whole thing. We saw that with the housing market bubble and crash in 2008. A lot of people think global stock markets, if anything, are overdue a crash, and this is largely down to deregulation. It's not just deregulation of the stock market. You're talking about deregulation of things like food standards, things that people consume. Also goods, safety of goods, this kind of thing. It gets in the way of making a quick buck, you see, and that's going to kickstart the engine of America, however Musk put it there. That's what he says. That's their theory. It's bollocks. It's history repeating all over and over again. Just worse and worse every time. Wait till you see this, though, where Trump introduces Musk, and then Musk tries to make his appearance, tries to... You see, he can't find the balance. He's not a great orator, Elon Musk. You saw when he was speaking there, he sounded as though he was giving a not so enthusiastic talk to a room of board members or something like that. So that's one end of the spectrum. And then at the other end, he goes too far. It's like overkill, and then it just becomes completely cringe. So it goes from awkward to a different form of awkward, which is cringe, and you'll see why. Oh.
He saved free speech. He created so many different great things. Where is he? Come on up here, Elon. He created the first major American car company in generations, and his rocket company.
What he said just before you see this. Trump was banned from Twitter years ago, of course, and then when Musk bought it for $44 billion $44 billion he paid for it, believe me, isn't, will never be worth truly $44 billion. You could say that it is because that's what he's paid for it, depending on your economic point of view. But essentially, he's just brown-nosing him for letting him back on Twitter. Saving free speech, yeah, that's pretty far out.
Is the only reason we can now send American astronauts into space. Come here.
What was that?
Take over, Elon. Yes, take over.
Oh, God, this is awful. Just take over, Elon, take over. That jump, that sort of way he jumped into the shot there.
That's into space.
What was that?
Here. Take over, Elon. Yes.
Oh, massive energy. Massive energy there, Elon. That's just one more time. They're lapping it up. All these... all these MAGA nuts here, all these circus seals. You could literally say anything and they, you know...
That's into space. Come here. Take over, Elon. Yes, take over.
As you can see, I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA. Well, first of all, I want to say...
Replace the word MAGA with money there, and I think you'll see what he's actually trying to say with that. I'm not just MAGA, I'm dark MAGA. Oh. It's talking like he's passing on a used rubber chicken. You take over now, Elon, take over. And he always said, you know, at the beginning there, Trump says, you know, there's a guy called Elon Musk, as though he's this obscure person who he's... Have you heard of this? Have you heard of this guy? Do you know him? Have you heard of him? Said to be the richest man in the world.
What an honor it is to be here. And, you know, the true test of someone's character is how they behave under fire.
Well, before you go on, Elon, I'd like to say that in both your cases, yours and Trump's, when your back's against the wall, you lash out on social media platforms, some of which you may own yourself, like a petulant teenager, man-child. You spread lies, you spread racist, xenophobic hate, both of them. There's been multiple examples of that. Is this what you're talking about, Elon? When you're under fire, when you're under pressure, when your back's against the wall, when the chips are down, when it comes to the crunch, what are you going to do? Are you going to man the up? Or are you going to lash out on social media?
And we had one president who couldn't climb a flight of stairs, and another who was fist pumping out.
Ageism, nice, yeah. So, you know, he's not that much older than the guy who you're endorsing. You know what I mean? What was the joke? The other week, Obama was on stage at one of the Harris rallies. Obviously, he endorses her. He was saying something like, well, I bet Donald Trump's never actually changed a nappy in his life. Well, someone in the crowd shouted, yeah, his own, or something like that. Yeah.
After getting shot. Fight!
I don't endorse Harris either, by the way. I don't like either of the candidates.
Fight! Blood coming down the face.
What's that? I mean...
And another who was fist pumping after getting shot.
Yeah, like that's like totally cool. God, what a moron.
Fight!
Wow. Good luck, America. Good luck. I don't know, though. I mean, just going to bring the background music back in a sec. I'm thinking legally here. In both the cases, this could actually be the endeavour that really lands them in proper trouble this time. I know obviously Trump's no stranger to that. There's ongoing cases, all sorts of things coming up. It turns out that he might have tried to bribe Stormy Daniels a second time to try and keep her quiet. There've been all other matters of possession of government documents. A litany. But if you're doling out $1 million a day to try and get people to vote for you, I mean, that's not only unheard of before in American politics, it's probably a serious breach of election rules. Mr. Find Me These Votes is at it again. Floor stake, no, I'd not heard about that. So it's redirecting. Right, so it's directing them in the other direction. Not heard about that. A plethora, yes, an abundance. I guess one of the other interesting factors about the upcoming US election, I just want to quickly say before I move on, I do have other stuff to get onto. Just wanted to get through this. How much support is there going to be for the Green candidate, Jill Stein? We saw somewhat in the last UK election, people moving away from the two main parties, albeit Labour got in with a majority. But when you're talking about independent candidates and smaller parties, is it going to follow suit in the United States of America? Realistically, it's going to be between Trump and Harris. I can't see there being that big of a swing, but I think we will start to see an increase. Hopefully. Stage of mediocrity. Yes, Octo. Absolutely right. Just gonna see what I've got coming up next. Where should we go next? Slightly similar vein, and obviously Donald Trump has invited the following person on to stage with him as well. You may have heard the news about the lady who threw the milkshake at Nigel Farage. Yes, this guy has been in court today. let's see what's happening there. I'll just have to readjust the size here, one sec. It's not too bad, that'll do actually. So you can see there, she's admitted hurling the milkshake at Farage. You could have bought it from somewhere else though, to be honest. Boycott, divest and sanction. More about that later. That photograph was pretty iconic at the time, doing the rounds, the moment of the milkshaking. Victoria Thomas Bowen, who's 25, from Clacton. So she's pled guilty. Initially she pled not guilty, she's changed her mind on all of her pleas. He was leaving a pub in Clacton, where he did actually, unfortunately, later win his seat. And then he was set upon by a milkshake at the Moon and Starfish pub on the seafront. So she admitted criminal damage after causing £17.50 worth of damage to a jacket belonging to Farage's security officer James Wolfenden. So this isn't actually for Farage's suit, it's for a security officer. £17.50. The Deputy Senior District Judge, Tan Ikram, said it was an unprovoked, targeted attack, now on an elected Member of Parliament, and he takes serious view of those offences, seeking a pre-sentence report which will consider all options for sentence. So, sentencing will be on the 16th of December. There's Victoria Thomas Bowen arriving at Westminster Magistrates Court. She said she had an opportunity at the seafront pub. It does appear that this wasn't pre-planned or anything. It looks as though it was opportunistic or instinctive. She saw him that obviously she doesn't support his views whatsoever, and just thought, hey, why not? I guess. She said that she doesn't agree with his political views, and yeah, she just had the chance. But she does not regret her actions, she says. It's not the first time he's been milkshaked either, is it? I think the guy who threw some things from a building site at Farage as well was in court as well recently. I'll have to check that out. I can't remember if it was the sentencing or just the trial. Apparently milkshaking, the word, was recognised as a word by the Collins Dictionary 5 years ago, in 2019. Didn't know that. See, it's intertwined into culture now. I mean, what's my take on this? I do obviously support protests. Long-term viewers will know that I am an environmental and political activist myself, but I practice non-violent protest. This kind of thing, throwing something at an individual, whomever that individual may be, is out of bounds with non-violent direct action. It's not something I'd engage in myself. I just want to be very clear on that. These are all tongue-in-cheek comments. just for some reason this had to be brought up just quickly finally. She told police that she did not intend the paper cup to hit Farage. There could be obviously a distinction there with it being a fluid or a solid object that was thrown. Whilst we're on that, actually, just very quickly also, because Farage comes into this as well. Obviously stirred up a lot of the rhetoric after the Southport stabbings, where there were then riots in towns and cities earlier on this year. Farage had a massive hand in that. He tried to shift some, or most, or all of the blame onto being misguided, misled by another douchebag, Andrew Tate. But here in the UK, people appeared to be listening to what he had to say. Since then, of course, a lot of those far-right rioters have been sent to prison. I think the longest sentence so far is 9 years. I'm just going to try and pick this out here in UK news. But it turns out one of the rioters who was sentenced has died in prison now. Let's see if we can find this one. I should have bookmarked it, apologies. I did just want to quickly mention it. Maybe it's in politics, 1 sec. And it's not been officially stated yet, so I've just struggling to find the article. I should have had it bookmarked. I just wanted to talk about it for a minute though. We'll get on to other matters very shortly. Only to say that it's unclear at the moment what the cause of death is. He had a heart attack earlier on in the year, this guy, and was also suffering from diabetes, but there is speculation that he could have taken his own life, but there's not been any confirmation of that as far as I'm aware. But if you've got any sources on that, please do let me know, people. What a time to be alive. You might have noticed this other headline, or be familiar with this story that broke today as well. Before I got onto Middle East issues. Speaking of law and order and policing, there was another trial today which has caused a lot of controversy and outrage. So this is Chris Cabba, who was shot by armed police in his car, and the police officer who shot him was in court today being charged with murder and found not guilty. So this was in 2022, just over 2 years ago, September 2022. Martin Blake is the officer in question, and Cabba was unarmed. Should point out as well, during a police vehicle stop in Streatham. And obviously members of his family think this is a complete injustice as well. There were demonstrations outside the court as well. Now, the officers denied intending to kill the 24-year-old, and he took a deep breath as the jury's decision was read out, it says, but otherwise did not react to the guilty verdict. But here's the thing, from what I know about his defence, he said that he feared for other officers' lives when Cabba attempted to drive away. He's claiming that he thought he was going to hit one of his fellow officers, and that's the reason why he took the instinctive decision to use his firearm. And it was one shot. It was one shot that went through a windscreen. One shot to the head. Other officers who were at the trial, speaking in his defence, said that they would have made the same decision. One of them, I believe, said that they were literally about to do the same thing. So, here's my point. If he's saying that he didn't intend to kill him, then you really have to sort of stretch your imagination that one shot to the head to stop him, that kind of, it doesn't match, it doesn't fit. He had no intention to kill him. I'm sure he's trained how to aim his firearm. He's obviously aimed for the head. And he made the decision to use his firearm to stop him, so obviously he knows that there's a huge risk that he's going to be killed. It just doesn't marry up, it doesn't match up, and you can see some of the other demonstrators there outside the Old Bailey. And while you have to address the elephant in the room, would it have been the same victim if the person in question was white? If Chris Cabba was white? We've seen a lot of evidence of racism in police forces in the past in the UK. So there's his mother and father arriving at court there. Yeah, so he said it was a split-second decision on what he believed was necessary to protect his colleagues and to protect London. He criticised the systems used to hold police officers who take lethal shots to account. You can't even shoot a guy in the head without getting moaned at these days. I'm not sure if I can play that, whether it's in terms of service for YouTube. It doesn't actually show the shooting, it's the moments before. But I'm not sure I should risk it. Well, actually, speaking of which, I did want to give you a bit of a channel update earlier, but got sidetracked with other things. Just quickly want to say, it appears that after reviews of some of my live streams where they'd been temporarily demonetized, they have now been remonetized. However, a few people have been pointing out that their comments on videos haven't been appearing and they're not in my held for review section. Normally any sort of controversial comments that might have foul language or potentially other things get held for my review, but they're not even in that section either. So please do let me know if this has been happening to you. I'm not sure if it's any sort of deliberate suppression, shall we say, by certain means, because I speak out about certain topics, including Israel, which I'll be moving on to shortly. That's just another picture of some more of the demonstrators there. Just noticed a couple of familiar faces in that picture. Actually, I hadn't noticed before, because I won't name names. Yeah. But what do you think about this? Are you familiar with this case, or are you just finding out about it here now on the live stream? Do you agree with the sentence? What do you think about what could be an out of control culture of racism within the police force, as a lot of people are saying at the moment? Let us know, let us know. And if you're watching back on replay as well, please do let me know in the comments. And I'll do a very quick bit of shilling before we move on to the next topic. Please do hit the thumbs up button on the stream if you've not done so already. You can also help the channel by sharing content across your social media. If you'd like to follow My Left Eye on social media, the channel is on Twitter at My Left Eye UK, also on Mastodon at My Left Eye, with caps at the start of each word on that one. For Mastodon, please do give us a follow. Always Twitter, never X. Mobius, you noticed the G word didn't make it onto chat when you used it last week. Well, that's one of the examples, that's one of the things I'm talking about. People who have been pointing this out to me, I know are regular viewers of the channel. This isn't any sort of troll or someone just making it up. Fairly confident that this is actually happening, and you mentioned that now as well. It's something I'm going to have to look into. I might have to send an inquisitive email or two and try and get to the bottom of all that. Also, please subscribe if you're listening as well, if you're not subscribed to the channel. And if you want to be absolutely fantastic, you can show Solidari-Tea and support the channel with a membership for just 99p. So please do consider helping the channel out in that way. Thanks to those of you this evening as well who've bought gift memberships. Just want to again show my appreciation for that. But times are ticking, so I must move on. Time to move on to updates about the Middle East. Now, I've got a segment of a Channel 4 news report as well that I'm gonna go through as the sort of main staple of the updates The latest news, as I've been preparing for and on the live stream, unfortunately more attacks on Gaza, attacks on Beirut and Damascus as well in the last 24 hours, including financial institutions. It's gotten a bit personal as well. Today just happens to be Benjamin Netanyahu's birthday, I believe. And one of the recent rocket attacks on Israel actually targeted his house. That's how that was from Lebanon, Hezbollah in Lebanon, I believe. So that's how they wanted to wish him many happy returns. He wasn't at the property at the time. But since the killing of Yahya Sinwar just a few days ago as well, this seems to be a response to that. It's now getting very personal, as well as the murder of the leader of Hezbollah as well. So I'll crack on with the Channel 4 news clip at first, because the reason I've chosen this clip in particular, there's been a lot, as there always is, going around social media. It sums up the overall deluded, maniacal mindset of Zionism for me in many ways, as this reporter does actually speak to illegal settlers, occupiers as they are. Let's call it like it is. Settlers is far too soft a word. It's an illegal occupation, of course, but also with that comes this, and now this is quite unbelievable. They've already got their sights set on that land for expanding the so-called settlements, for expanding the occupation into Gaza itself. And what's really bizarre is, given the fact that this is the most intense war zone in the world at the moment, right now, Israel think people are going to be jumping at the chance to come and get some property in Gaza, in occupied Gaza, when you look at the droves of people who've been moving out of Israel. You remember pictures of and footage of those queues at the airport recently. The more things escalate, the more people want to be out of harm's way, are returning to Europe, are returning to America. And even, I think it was just today, in fact, British Airways announced that they're stopping all flights to Israel until at least spring 2025. So it's absolutely insane. We all know how insane the concept of Zionism is anyway, but this really does ram it home, so let's see what's happening.
I wanted to preface what you're about to see by saying that the views you will hear don't represent the majority of people who live in Israel. Although that said, there is some reliable polling that suggests that between 25 and 40% of the population here supports some form of settlement inside Gaza.
It's like he's saying, he has to preface this because you are going to be hearing from extreme Zionists.
Awful trauma of October the 7th attacks have pushed those figures towards the upper end. also want to preface it by saying that while we were at this event, a group of protesters showed up outside. They were friends and family of hostages still being kept inside Gaza, and they were scathing about politicians on the right who they perceive are weaponizing the events of October the 7th for political reasons. Blowing bubbles.
You won't believe this.
As Gaza burns. This weekend, over 100 people died in the north of the Strip. And as that was happening, not far away in southern Israel, settlers held a 2-day event.
Can you imagine, whether it be a religious festival, celebration, a birthday party, an anniversary, anything, and within eyesight, just in the mid-distance there, you can see homes burning, and you can still celebrate somehow, knowing that your ideology is responsible for that destruction that's happening within this landscape. Let's see what this guy's got to say about it. Trigger warnings all over the place here, people, by the way.
This whole area is one big terror cell. It has an infection. You have to take out the infection.
They set out their plans for Jewish outposts inside what will be left of Gaza if they
Yeah,
get
we
it.
want all of this and this and that. Well, this.
Celebrated the festival of Sukkot as the smell of homes on fire wafted in from the west.
They can smell them. They can smell the homes ablaze before their very eyes. Let's party. This is sick.
We spoke to one of the organizers. What you're about to hear is hate speech. We decided to broadcast it because, as you'll see, these people have some very powerful friends in the Israeli government.
That is when you have a cut in your body, and that cut, it has an infection. You have to take out the infection. When you take out the infection, then it'll be clean again.
In terms,
Appalling. The dehumanization, referring to Palestinian civilians as an infection or some sort of virus. It's racism that is the disease. It's racism. It's Zionism, in this case specifically, and racial supremacist ideology that is the true disease that needs rooting out of society. That's appalling.
In terms of cleaning out this infection, as you call it, what would you like to see happen to the over 1 million Palestinians that live there?
I think there are many nations, including Ireland and England, who would welcome them to come and live in their
So mass deportations to other countries.
Yeah, just like happens in Ukraine, in Russia, and any other place.
It's their land. It's their home. It's their home. That's your solution to what you're doing, is that they can all move to the United Kingdom and Ireland, and just let you build on their land, on what's left of their homes and buildings and schools, universities, the ones that you haven't razed to the ground. There's only been one war in history where 100% of the population has been displaced, and it's this one right here, right now, that's happening in many cases in real time, right in front of our very eyes. It's this one that's happening right here, right now. The most worrying part about this is that these extreme Zionists believe every single word that they say. They're that indoctrinated, institutionalized within that racist ideology that they think that it's the truth. Wow.
In the world, you have a war.
Does that idea not
You have
offend?
you have
Does that
refugees.
idea of mass deportations and cleansing the wound
No,
not
Well, that's the word. That's the word. Cleansing. You all know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. It is that. That is what is happening, but not in the way that this asshat is describing it. In the way that we've seen in history before, and it's repeating again.
offend your sense of Jewishness given your people's history?
No, because when the evil is so bad, you have to do something with it to make peace with evil.
Like that has very dark historical resonance. That sentence you've just said, in terms of Jewish people.
Right now,
doesn't it?
the dark I know was what would happen.
Just telling me, sounds like
in Sderot. That was very dark.
Bloody Joseph Goebbels.
That evening at the main event, settler families set up their sukkahs overlooking the strip. There's been an exponential rise both in the number of settlements and in violence directed by them against Palestinians in the West Bank since the October the 7th attacks.
Well, that's not a coincidence either. That's just more evidence of how evil this all is. The more land they occupy and steal, the more violence they breed, the more hate they breed, the more that they attack the people who they're stealing from, who they're occupying. There's a very strong positive correlation between those two things, don't you think?
These people see the war in Gaza as the ultimate supplanting of Palestinians there. We meet Danny and Hadar Penton and their children bedding down for the night. They're so committed to the idea of resettling that part of their promised land, they'd bring the children to live in Gaza today. I understand your beliefs and I understand your ideology, but you're not honestly telling me that you would bring your 7 children into a war zone today to live.
אוקיי, כן, אני עושה את זה עכשיו ולא יקרה להם כלום.
What in the bloody hell is wrong with you? It looks like the surface of the moon right now. It's the area of the world with the most concentrated bombing by far at the moment, and you've got 7 kids and you can't wait to get there. What is wrong with these people? And the biggest tragedy is they will feed this ideology into their kids' heads now, and you'll have another generation of people whose mindset is so far detached from reality it's beyond comprehension.
אלוהים שומר עלינו, ואני מאמינה בלב שלם שזאת המשימה שלנו.
Daniela Weiss holds court that evening. She's seen as the grandmother of the modern-day settler movement, and now she's something else as well. Friends with Israel's new far-right settler power elite, Bezalel Smotrich, the finance minister, and Itamar Ben-Gvir, Minister of National Security, who we'll meet later. They're the settlers' champions, no longer manning outposts, driving ministerial cars. Do you feel like this is your political moment?
It's not a moment. It's the beginning of an era. It's the beginning of a period. It's a big change. The left is losing its rule.
I'm losing my bloody mind listening to this. If that...
And the right came to power, and this is to stay.
The main event the following day, a showcase of political muscle.
Yeah, sorry, got Ben
When Daniela Weiss says this is a new era, this is what she means. Settlers are no longer a fringe group of militant zealots that are irrelevant. They are sharing the stage.
A new era, a new era. Will it last for 1,000 years? We've heard all that. This is tragically, ironically, history repeating, and we've heard these sentiments historically before from the worst atrocities that we know of in history as well, you know.
With government ministers and MPs. This is what real power looks like. May Golan is Minister for Social Equality. She is from Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party.
Excuse me. Oh, wow. Get me to the hernia department immediately. For social equality? For social equality? Before you raised Palestine to the ground, Muslims weren't allowed to walk down certain streets, and in certain areas there was active segregation happening. And you want to talk about social equality? You've just had your man on there describing Palestinians as an infection, and you want to talk about social equality, do you? Is that like the version of with the Minister for Levelling Up? You know, the bullshit position that doesn't do anything and is actually just gaslighting and an insult, you know, to anyone whose IQ is higher than their age. I'm just appreciating some of these comments as well. Completely detached from any form of remorse. You're right, RC Pilot. And they do, you're right, Morbius. They do believe this. A lot of them do. Some of them know that they're lying. Some of them actually genuinely believe all of this. And I think it's the ones who genuinely believe it who are the scariest. And when you dehumanize others, you do become inhuman yourself. Absolutely right there, Floor Snake too. Social equality.
She wants all Gazans to leave the Strip. But what of those who don't want to leave? If it ever gets to that point, what's the government's plan?
Well, I'm not talking about plans right now.
So you don't have a plan for that? Just to be clear, you're bombing Gaza, but you do not have a plan to move the people.
Displace, occupy and settle, that's the plan. She just doesn't want to say it on TV. Can we see some Palestine flags in the chat, please? Good people. That'd be awesome to see that show of solidarity. That is the plan. That is the plan. It's the eradication of an entire people from their land. Steal it. Build on it and sell it. That's the plan.
People who don't want to leave.
I said one question, but no problem. We're doing, and we will do, everything that we need in order to protect the lives of our people, women that were slaughtered,
No, I get
girls
that. Sorry,
that were kidnapped.
you said
No,
one
no,
question.
second,
This is still the same question. What I need to ask you is, do you have a plan? Do you have a plan to move the Gazans who do not want to leave? So you do have a plan.
That just like in your democracy,
Free
these people
Palestine.
have the right to speak their mind. They have the freedom of speech, and those people
I'm not
that the
talking about
bomb
those
that you
people.
just heard are the monsters that are trying to kill us for the last year. That
was
have
outgoing,
slaughtered.
actually. But
That
anyway,
was slaughtered. There's thousands of bombs, and while we're talking, there are rockets at the.
Madam, you've killed over 42,000 Palestinians. You are trying to say the reason for your actions was a retaliatory attack just over a year ago in which 1,200 people were killed, many of whom by your own army. And you're making out as though it's Palestine trying to wipe out Israel and not the other way around. Brett James, thanks a lot for celebrating your 4 months of membership as well. Thanks a lot for sticking with me. Hope you're very well tonight as well, by the way. But yeah, all right, they can, you know. It's very true. It's very true. Every accusation they make is a confession. Every accusation a Zionist makes is a confession.
south and the north of our country.
So you have a plan
and you should deal with the
to
fact
move the
that we
Gazans who
have
don't want
every
to
right
go,
to protect
but
ourselves
you won't
with
tell us what the
every
plan is.
tool possible.
Incorrect, lady. How many times? I mean, please. You do not have that right. An occupying force, an occupying nation does not have the right to defend itself. The country that you're occupying does, by whatever means necessary, but not you. It's completely flipped on its head. It's the other way around. Ben-Gvir now.
Other politicians, the warm-up acts for Ben-Gvir. Convicted of terror-related activities as a young man, now Minister for Security. The British government reportedly considered sanctions against him. Ben-Gvir, British television, are you worried about British sanctions? Are you worried about British sanctions? Can I quickly ask you also, for the Gazans who don't want to leave, what's your plan for them? For the Gazans who don't want to leave, what is your plan for them? Can I ask you that, sir? Excuse me. British sanctions, no, are you worried? What's your message to the people of Gaza at the moment as they're dying just a few miles from here? Can I ask you that, sir? We left them to the dancing, to the drum and the bass of religious fervour and power. The music echoed across the field. Probably didn't reach northern Gaza, drowned out there by the sounds of something else entirely.
Yeah, the sounds of rockets. Of course, Ben-Gvir, of course, should be sanctioned. We really need to impose strong sanctions on Ben-Gvir, Yoav Gallant, and of course Benjamin Netanyahu himself. Absolutely. But we know that our politicians are bought and paid for over here. When he asked him, the first time I saw this clip, earlier today, the part where he asked him if he's worried about British sanctions, I couldn't help but picture Lammy being dragged over to Jerusalem or Tel Aviv to be sort of dragged over the coals and instructed on what the UK should do. I mean, these are his lobbyist paymasters. For example, the same with Keir Starmer. How can we support this as a nation? We cannot. Just absolutely cannot. I've got another short clip here. This is something I saw earlier from Twitter. I'll just bring that up. And it speaks volumes. Especially what I was saying about history repeating in a lot of what we're seeing in the Middle East. And this is footage of a group of Palestinians in North Gaza. They've been at one refugee camp to the next each time they move along. They're still under attack. There are no safe zones at all. I'm just getting this queued up. Bear with me. But the clip itself, the original clip, actually comes from Israeli news. And it's as though it's a celebration, as though it's definitive as to the moments of victory, as they like to see it. And this is since Yahya Sinwar was killed. They think that that's game over now. It's absolutely not. Anybody who's seen my recent video on that will know that it was just a short video, but if anything, this situation's going to escalate. But to actually try and gloat about what you're about to see really should make your stomach turn. Because there's no difference between this and what is now known as the death marches that took place in Europe during the 1940s. I'm going to have to play it without the sound. I think there's possibly a copyrighted backing track on the video, but this is it. I'll just zoom in a little here. Starved and bombed and then rounded up and forced to move to the next concentration camp to be caged, starved and bombed. And a reminder that while some of the aid that was blocked is getting through, I believe it's still around 50 trucks per day, which is nowhere near the amount required getting into North Gaza. But look at this. This is what Israeli news is celebrating today. Herded like animals to the next unsafe zone. What can you say? What can you say? And if you look closely, there are elderly people there, children. This isn't like when a country celebrates encircling and capturing another nation's army, for example. These are civilians. I see, pilot, you're a righteous berserker. What can you say? Yeah, I'm lost for words sometimes. Earlier on as well, I saw the most recent appearance from David Mensa, the Israeli spokes who I've mentioned a few times before on the channel. Absolutely batshit crazy guy. He was on LBC. You all now probably familiar with the story of the tents that were set ablaze outside of the hospital just days ago, and the harrowing scenes there. Mensa, as I said on LBC, made a ludicrous claim that it was all staged with mannequins and this kind of thing. I don't have the actual clip itself. But as the days and weeks go by, the events themselves get even more extreme as to Israel propaganda's patent bullshit and lies. What can you say about that guy? I might be doing a separate video about that through the week. Try and keep an eye out for that. It's always something with him, but I guess it always is with any Israeli spokes. Just quickly going to check for any latest developments. If anything's happened while I've been on there. There's one more quick thing I wanted to mention on the Middle East front, was that it appears Hamas have now elected a new leader following the assassination of Yahya Sinwar. However, they've elected not to reveal the name, probably for security reasons, as you can imagine. That's just something I wanted to bring to your attention very quickly as well. Just a bit of a footnote on the situation there. Keep you posted with any developments, as always, here on My Left Eye.
I wanted to preface what you're about to see by saying that the views you...
Sorry about that, people. Okay, before I love you and leave you, just another shout out to all the members on the channel. Hang around though, don't go anywhere. I'm going to be looking into raiding, redirecting, so please do stay where you are. Oh, we got No Justice live, so we're going to be redirecting into that. Yeah, great content from No Justice, so please do hang around. Thanks again to all those members. Thanks again to everybody who's bought gift memberships on the show tonight. Yeah, feel like we've absolutely blasted through all the topics tonight, but thanks for your contributions as well in the chat. It's been great to catch up with everybody. More brews at 10 to come through the week, of course, including PMQs on Wednesday. Now that that's back up and running. And just a final mention about hitting the thumbs up button on the stream, sharing the content around as much as you can. Thanks a lot for all of your support as always. So that'll just about be it from me for this evening. Until we see each other again, please do take care of yourselves. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Take care, everybody. My Left Eye, be seeing you soon. Good night.